Shut up and sit down.
What an incredible kick in the pants. This study has already been related to recasting vision. Related to vision, it's not enough to see it, set it, and simply forget about it. It must be examined and re-examined often to make sure the course doesn't need correction. Now, we've been looking at what author Michael Hyatt discusses in his book, Vision Driven Leader, and we've really drilled down on something as he describes as the vision arc. He says there are 7 stages of a business, and vision can be reinvented, restructured, or revisited at any point along that arc. I'm making stops along the arc to simplify these stages for you and try to examine at least one case study with each stop along the arc. Again, Hyatt says there are 7 stages: startup, growth, transitions, maturity, legacy, zombie, and death. Well, let's take a look at a 4th case study. This is part B of our study, and I'm going to take a look at a great business in transition, Starbucks. Now, Starbucks had not yet reached maturity. You may not know the story of Starbucks and how it began. I mean, you look at the finished product and you think, wow, these guys nailed it, didn't they? But you wouldn't have thought that back in March of 1971 that they had nailed it. Gordon Bowker, Jerry Baldwin, and Zeb Zeigel decided to redefine what coffee should look and taste like. It didn't start with the store as we know it. It started as a rented storefront in Seattle where the 3 sold coffee beans along with the gear to grind it. That was it. No baristas, no caramel macchiatos, no overpriced iced coffee, no bakery, no hot babes to stand next to in line, coffee and gear to grind it. That's it. 10 years later, the company is worth $4.4 million, and they still haven't sold a cup of coffee, a latte, a cappuccino, or anything. No one had even invented the store. That was the extent of their vision. They hired a marketer by the name of Howard Schultz to come work with them. Schultz had just visited Milan, Italy, where they had coffee bars, espresso joints, latte hangouts, where people came together to become part of a community, and he loved what he saw. He knew it would be hugely successful here in the United States, especially in a market like the Seattle area. He tried selling the 3 Starbucks guys on the idea, and they threw Schultz out of their office. Now, he wasn't fired, but he said he sure felt like he had been fired. Schultz decided there's only one way to get even: beat these guys in business, their own. He left Starbucks to open his own coffee firm in the Seattle area, and even though it was impossible to say the name of his business, El Giornale or Giornale, I don't know, I can't say it right, but it's something that he picked up while he was in Milan. Now, even though the name was hard to pronounce, it was a massive hit in Seattle. He opened 2 more stores within a year, and at the end of the year, 3 stores made $1.5 million. You know what he did with all that profit? Yeah, he reinvented vision. He went back and bought his bean supplier, his old bosses. He bought Starbucks. The trio were at a transition, and rather than zig, then zag, they just stuck with their zig, and the rest is history. In 1987, Schultz got rid of the stupid name of his coffee shop, the one that meant nothing to anybody but himself, and he rebranded as Starbucks. He now has over 30,500 locations in 76 countries, employs over 300,000 people, does about $26 billion in sales annually, according to the most recent statistics published in 2020. They have a loyalty program, which I'm not part of, but it has over 16.9 million active members. Now, I'm not a coffee snob, so I can enjoy coffee from my local diner, and I'm not a member of their loyalty program, but almost 17 million people are. The name Schultz, chose for his original coffee shops, reminds me of that ice cream Haagen-Dazs. You know what Haagen-Dazs actually means? It means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. And that was the point of his coffee shop. It doesn't mean anything. It sounds like, a Danish ice cream, and people like the sound of it. I don't know, people are throwing around names and they find one that stuck. Let's call it Häagen-Dazs. And Schultz may have done the same thing. The point is, you don't have to have a great name to be great. You have to have great vision to be great. Is anybody having a bad day today? If you are, remember, back in 1976, Ronald Wayne sold his 10% stake in Apple Computers for $800. Today, that would be worth in excess of 58, are you ready? $billion. $58 billion. It was Thomas Edison who said many of life's failures are people who didn't realize how close they were to success when they finally gave up. What do we learn about this transition stage? It's this: you can be in the middle of a growth cycle and still miss opportunity for super growth. We get comfortable. Listen, don't surround yourself by yes men. Put people in your life who will challenge you to grow. Get out of your comfort zone. Listen to new ideas. Imagine how Schultz must have felt the day he was dismissed from the offices of the Coffee Trinity. How did he react? He didn't exit stage right. He diverted. He detoured. He zigged where others didn't zag. He restructured. He redesigned. He gave up on his stupid name and he became the coffee king of all time. Here's another great study in this transition stage. Let's talk about Netflix. Think about what Netflix looked like in 2007. Mark Randolph Reed Hastings originally founded Netflix in 1997. It was initially a rent-by-mail DVD service that you would pay by rental. Users would go to the Netflix website, pick out the next video to watch. Netflix would deliver to the door in a prepaid postage return envelope, and you just give it to the mailman the next day. Wildly successful, but looking at today's technology, it seems so outdated. CEO Reed Hastings said he originally got the idea for Netflix because he had to pay $40 in late fees because he had to return a movie late to Blockbuster back when Blockbuster was king. Probably why Blockbuster was king. All the late fees they got from me. But in 2000, Hastings approaches Blockbuster about a partnership. Unfortunately for Blockbuster, their CEO just smiled and laughed him out of the office. It would only take 10 years, but Blockbuster would file for bankruptcy in 2010. Ironically, Blockbuster turned down an opportunity to purchase Netflix for $50 million. They declined. Netflix teaches us that not all ideas are great ones. What if Blockbuster had taken them up on their offer? It also points to the fact that if Blockbuster had agreed to be purchased, that could have been the noose around the neck of Netflix and kept them from becoming the streaming giant they have become. Hastings said, and I quote, Netflix was originally a single rental service, but the subscription model was one of the few ideas that we had during the transition stage, so there really was no aha moment. Well, what do we learn from that statement? Well, we learned that sometimes businesses just make changes to their vision without any fanfare at all. It just makes good business sense. These guys were open to change all the time. They're open to revisiting and recasting vision every day. That's how in 20 years they've become worth over $100 billion. In 2006, still a mail-in DVD rental service, their annual revenues were $997 million. And last year, they finished at almost $20 billion in annual revenue. Over 30% of adults in the United States subscribe to Netflix. When they originally presented the idea of a streaming platform, by the way, long way from your mail-in DVD and give it to the postman. When they first presented that platform to Time Warner, the CEO of the company questioned, and I quote, the sustainability of a business model like this. Now, we laugh at that CEO, but maybe we shouldn't. The technology to make Netflix work had but barely been invented and definitely had not been perfected. It was met with outright skepticism. Yet, where is Blockbuster? Yeah, they're gone. Here's a picture of the last Blockbuster store in Oregon. The store's still open today, August 2020. Hats off to Netflix. Now, they didn't invent streaming. Google got there first, some say even best. Netflix competes with Prime, Nest, Sling, Disney Plus, Apple TV, lots of competition out there, and they're still number one in the market by a long shot. What did their transition look like? Nothing special, just normal business vision. According to their founder, no aha moment. Casting vision isn't always spectacular, but it is always necessary to win. I will see you in our next episode, team.